Well, let's discuss further the first anniversary of the war. And joining me is global affairs analyst Clavin Dark. Thanks for joining us on The World Now. 1 year since the war began, do you see an end in sight?
No, unfortunately, I don't think that those on either side, those who are helping Russia and those, the United States and our NATO allies, the end is unclear. I think one of the things I, thought a lot about as we mark this 1 year since the invasion is it doesn't look like what most people thought it would. I think Putin thought that he would have already taken over Kyiv and that he would be a lot more successful in his military outfit, but he also didn't think that the U.S. support and NATO support and allied support would be what it was and it would be sustained. I also don't think that the United States and our allies would have pictured this 1 year mark the way it is. I think they would have probably wondered a year ago, why would Putin, who has suffered very public losses, not only not be ready to end the war, but be intensifying it, even issuing veiled nuclear threats. So I think at 1 year on, there are a lot of questions, and it's not what anybody thought it would look like.
Well, Ukraine might have been receiving support from the West, from NATO and other allies, but it just doesn't seem to be able to stop Putin in his stead.
Yes, that's correct. And I think that what's happening now, I know in the United States, but I'm sure in other countries, is given the billions of dollars in aid that has been given to Ukraine, and Putin still shows no signs of ending the illegal invasion, what does our commitment look like going forward? One of the things that President Biden continually says when referring to Ukraine is we'll be there as long as it takes. Well, what does that mean? A lot of questions are being asked in the United States that, wonder, will our military readiness for our own security be compromised with all of the military equipment we've given to Ukraine? Also, we have to think about the fact that there are billions of dollars being spent, and a lot of Americans want to see that money spent here at home. So I think that those are incredibly big questions, and no one knows the answer because we don't know what Putin is going to do to end the conflict, what his breaking point will be.
And at this first anniversary, the United Nations has adopted a resolution calling for Russia to leave Ukraine. How do you perceive President Putin would react to this?
I don't think it has any influence on what Putin will be doing. I was looking at the list of countries that abstained, those who voted against the resolution. I don't think there were that many surprises, and I don't think that Putin bases his objectives to, bring Ukraine back into Russia's control on what the UN says. So I don't think it has any effect on Putin. I do think it is a reminder to the world of just how consolidated the support is. The only thing is the resolution can't make it last. That's going to take the political will of the individual countries contributing, like the United States.
And this brings to questions now the strengths of the United Nations, because many perceive it as a toothless bulldog. It can make policies, but can it actually implement those policies, in this case, achieving peace in Ukraine?
In this case, I think that what the most powerful weapon that the UN has is bringing together countries to speak with one voice on what the international community will accept and what it won't. But when it comes to actually helping Ukraine with militarily or funding or mediating any kind of efforts between Ukraine and Putin, the UN, that's not a role that they're going to be able to play. So I can see why people would call it toothless, but I do think it should be acknowledged that the very public support that it shows the togetherness of the international community, that does help because it sends a message to Putin that he can't do this with the international community just sitting by and letting him.
Well, Mr. Dark, I'm curious, what will victory look like in this war?
One of the things I think we have gotten an answer for is, Putin or those who support Putin have talked about, possibly some kind of diplomatic solution where part of Ukraine is turned over under Russian control. But what we've seen now, and this was clear in Ukrainian President Zelensky's speech earlier today, this is existential. This is either Ukraine will survive or it won't. And so I think that that sends a very clear message that whatever victory looks like, it will involve either Ukraine being defeated or Ukraine being continue to be independent and protected, that there isn't really a middle ground.
And the sad part of this is that it's the civilians, it's the people who are actually bearing the brunt of this violence. Clavin Dark is a global affairs analyst. Thank you for talking to us on The World Now.
Thank you.
That's the program.